Hey everybody, it is Saturday morning. I think it's the 12th. Let me look on my clock here, my phone. 13th. So yesterday, I don't really follow too much stuff in the news, but yesterday and the day before I've been watching this Alec Baldwin trial. And it's interesting to me because I did work in the film and television industry for about 15 years. And I went to film school. That's where I went to at FSU. I went to FSU Film School, and I worked in that industry as anyway. I'm watching a lot of these people that have these lawyers that have all these law channels, the law and crime networks, and I watch a lot of these guys, and I like a lot of the channels. They're interesting for fun, seeing some goofy trials and stuff. But the one thing that, and I'm an Alec Baldwin fan as far as I watch his movies, but I really could care less about what his politics are or his personal life usually. But this was a weird thing for me because of the shooting on Rust. And when it first came out, there was a shooting, and the armorer who was there, to me, she's responsible. I know a lot about what happens on movie sets because I've been on a lot of movie sets over the last 25 years. I've been on movie sets that had like Just Cause or True Lies or whatever, and they all had, people had guns, and there's armorers and stuff. Plus, I actually own guns. I'm also ex-military. I've been around guns. Got my first shotgun when I was like 12 years old up in Pennsylvania. So I'm familiar with weapons. I'm also familiar with the movies. And the interesting thing to hear and is an armorer's job. Like when you go onto a movie set, and actually the movie I even made, 300 Large, when I wrote our independent film, we had guns on ours. And luck, we didn't use any real guns. Everything we used were those airsoft guns that we repainted to look like real weapons because I didn't want any real guns on the set. So the worst that would happen is, God forbid, and nothing ever did, is a little orange ball might hit you in the forehead or something because it was a little soft plastic BB, but that never happened. Now, the thing I don't like is a lot of these lawyers, and I like them in their normal lawyerly, law and order type stuff. They're all talking about, well, Alec Baldwin should have known better. He is handed a gun. He should have known if it was loaded with blanks. He should have known if it was loaded. Let me just tell you, if you have a gun that is loaded with blanks, most of those blanks look exactly like real bullets. Alex Baldwin, if you do listen to him, he hates guns. He doesn't like the Second Amendment. I mean, he's very, in his view, so I don't expect him to know much about guns. People keep saying, well, he's made a lot of movies with guns. Yeah, guess what? I made a lot of movie with cars, but I don't know how to drive a car and jump it over an airplane or jump it over off a bridge. So it's called movies for a reason. And a lot of these lawyers on YouTube are going, well, it doesn't matter. He shot someone. Well, he should know better. No, it's like, if you go to a museum per se, say you go out to the USS New Jersey Museum, which is a real battleship, and it's run by volunteers and all who know about battleships, and say there's a big red button there, and they go, hey, that's the button that, had you pushed it back in the day, it would have shot one of the 5-inch guns. And there's a big red thing that says, hey, if you'd like to, push this button, and it will simulate the gun shooting. And you push the button, and all of a sudden the gun really fires. Okay? How could you possibly be held responsible for that? Because that's basically what happens. Actors don't know anything about guns. Some do, but most don't. You're handed one from a professional. They tell you that the things in there are blanks, or they're fake shells, or they're not going to be real bullets because there should never be real bullets. And nobody who's an actor brings real bullets to the scene. It's not like you just happen to bring, it's not like you have change for a $5 bill in your pocket and you have 4 quarters and somebody goes, hey, do you have bullets for 1845 Colt 45? Well, sure, let me check my wallet. That's not how it happens. Every single one of these guns, they're antique guns. They take very special ammunition, and that's why you have armorers. I mean, on some of the movies I've been, we have called greensmen. Greensmen handle house plants. You don't think that the actors are out there putting house plants down. I mean, the actors aren't usually even allowed to drive a car. That's why we have stunt drivers. You know, the driver, you know, you can't tell an actor, oh, go, by the way, we want you to drive this car from here to there. And if they drive it really fast, like say in a Fast and the Furious, and they go above the speed limit, these lawyers would be like, well, they should have got a ticket for being above the speed limit. No, it's a movie. Okay, this is pretend. This isn't some guy that had a gun on the side of a street corner in Chicago and somebody handed him a gun and said it's not loaded and he shot somebody. It's not like that. It's not like Miami. This isn't real life. This is somebody who's a professional actor who is handed a weapon and said, this will not hurt anyone. And all these guys are like, oh, you shouldn't point a gun at anyone. And that is true. I went through gun safety when I was a kid. I'm from Pennsylvania. Back in the day, the NRA was a gun safety course. It wasn't the political machine it is now. It was just hunter safety courses. I know never to point a real gun at someone. But we've all seen movies. Now, do they typically point a gun at a camera at a far distance? We've all seen it. You couldn't have made a Clint Eastwood movie without having a camera pointing at the down the barrel of a gun. Now, usually there is no one standing there. There's usually no one there. But at some point, somebody has to take a focus. Where they do take a focus, they're gonna, hey, okay, here's this camera, and these are not your this isn't your GoPro. These cameras have very intricate lenses and everything else. They are huge. They're worth $35,000 to $40,000 a piece, sometimes more. So what they're going to do is they're going to take that camera lens and they're going to have somebody hold the gun up and go like this, and then there's usually somebody who comes out and maybe even measures how far you're going to be, or they put the piece of tape on the floor that's an X or a line or a little piece of tape or something, or a dot on the floor where you're supposed to stand so that the end of the gun will be in focus, as well as maybe the back of your face, or maybe they just want the end of the gun. Maybe they want to they want to focus from your face and do a focus zoom down into the barrel of the gun. There's all kinds of ways, and if they're going to do a barrel gun, obviously they're not going to use an airsoft gun that has the end of the barrel is the size of a BB. They want to actually show like what a real gun barrel looks like. You know, this has happened on a bazillion movies. And so when they're doing that, and that's what this was not being videoed. They were not shooting the video. They were not shooting the film yet. They were actually practicing what it was going to look like. Now, whether he pulled the trigger or not, to me, doesn't matter. And here's why. If he pulled the trigger, he was told that gun was safe. It was cold. He was told it was a cold gun. A cold gun means there's nothing going to happen. A hot gun means it may shoot blanks. And blanks can kill people. I mean, there's a couple actors that have been killed over the years by blanks if you hold them so close, because it is a concussion, can still concuss your brain, even though usually a projectile doesn't shoot out, but sometimes there's a wad, it's called a wad. There's a cotton wad, a paper wad that will shoot out sometimes. And so that can even do some damage a little bit if it's a real gun, depending on how much powder. But when you're told you have a cold gun by the prop master, and when these guys, I was watching part of the trial, and one of the prop guys who owns one of the shops was like, oh, I don't even know how many rounds we shot. I just guessed it, and I wrote, or I don't know where the guns were. I can tell you right now, every film, every TV show I was ever on, every stage that I was ever on with somebody, and I've worked live theater, I've worked stage, I've worked like, I mean, I tell people about, there was a train we did for Rescue 911 train episode back in the 90s, where this guy who we got called out, we were filming it down in Fort Myers area, Estero area in Florida, and it was recreating a car that got hit by a train. This expert came down and said, we used a real train from Seminole Gulf Railroad. The train came down with like 3 cars behind it. And the guy said, I'm going to place this car here, and then the car's going to be hit. It's going to spin 4 times, and then it's going to hit this little building that was built to recreate what happened in the real accident. And we're like, yeah, right, this is really going to happen. Like, of course. And this dude knew that if the train came at, say, 43 miles an hour and it hit this car right on the right angle, it went up in the air and it spun 3 times and landed right where he said it was, which was like 83 feet away, and it would roll 2 more times. everything was perfect because that's what these guys get paid a lot of money to do. Okay? The train engineer had that happen, had the train engineer come down, because the guy who put this all together and the guy in charge of this didn't drive the train. The Seminole Golf guy was just told to drive and whatever. If he would have hit that car and say that car spun to the right and took out 6 people that were part of the film crew that were standing 25 yards away and it killed somebody, the train engineer wouldn't be held accountable for this. He was doing what this guy who's a professional stunt person told him to do. Think of the same way. Alex Baldwin was told to do the exact same thing by a professional whose only job, one job, is to make sure that the guns on there look realistic and are safe for actors. That's it. That's their job. So the fact that the girl that's in jail right now, yeah, is she? I don't know what she was tried with. I didn't even watch that trial, but there is a girl in there for 18 months. And, you know, she should have checked that and loaded it herself. She did not. Okay? Am I saying she purposely tried to hurt somebody? No, but she should have known. She's the one that should have known that she's a professional in this. And I don't think she did anything on purpose, but that's her job. Just like the guy who designed the trains, it's his job. Just like I said, if you were sitting in a airplane, if you went and flew with the Blue Angels and they had a fake missile on the side of it and you were getting a flight because you won some contest and you're in the back seat and you push the button that says fire, but they told you you can push that button all day, there's no way anything's going to fly off the plane. All of a sudden you do it and it shoots a missile and hits the other plane and kills that other Blue Angel pilot that's there, even though Blue Angels don't carry anything like that. But you wouldn't be at fault. The pilot would be at fault because he's the one, and the AO ordnanceman who loaded the missile would have been on fault. Even if they told you it was an inert missile and it was painted blue at the tip, which typically means inert, everything else, that's where this is. So as much as it doesn't really matter, like I said, Baldwin to me is an excellent actor. I think he's funny. I think he's great serious. He was good in Hunt for Red October. He was good in 30 Rock. But I don't think he should have gone through this. I don't think he should have even been this. I mean, they're going to sue and do civil suits, and that'll all happen because it always happens. I mean, but as far as criminally, I don't think he should have been there, but I also don't think that all these YouTube judges and all these YouTube lawyers, they're like, well, if you pull a gun and point it, that's real life. If you're on a corner, absolutely. If someone handed you a gun and told you it wasn't real and then you fired it, that's on you. Okay? But in the movie making is different from reality, and I keep seeing all these legal people saying, well, he should have known by pointing a gun at somebody. Really? Because that's how almost every police TV show, every movie that has a gun in it, there's somebody pointing a gun towards somebody else. Okay? There are ways to do it. There's ways to do it safely, and that's why they have professionals that do this. But to blame an actor, and I am by no means, anybody who knows me knows that I am absolutely 100%. I mean, if you want to go look at videos, you can see the video I just put up of April shooting my AR-15. So I am absolutely not against guns in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not somebody who thinks that if anybody knows me, I mean, if you do something wrong, you should go to jail, period. I mean, I am very a law and order person, but in this case, I just don't think that an actor should be held responsible if an licensed armorer, like say he hired some guy named Fred who happened to be standing at the end of the interstate with a sign like, we'll work for food, and he goes, hey man, here, you can come and be in charge of guns. Then I would say, okay, as a producer, he was wrong. I mean, if you're giving like $10 to some guy who said, hey, I work for food, hey, why don't you handle all the guns for our movie for the next 20 minutes and I'll pay you in big banks. Okay, well, in that case, sure, then Alec Baldwin as producer would be wrong. But he hired competent, licensed people who do this for a living, and somebody somewhere Whether it was intentional or unintentional, whether it was to destroy a career, maybe somebody put a bullet in there that they were trying to get this person kicked off a show. They were trying to whatever, put something in hoping that there'd be an accident. I don't know. I don't think anybody would put in hoping to kill somebody, or I hope not. But somehow live ammunition got on the set. Baldwin would not know the difference. Most people would not know the difference. I wouldn't know the difference. I'm not a professional armorer. And so I think that the best thing that happened was that this thing got relieved with prejudice so that he can't get charged again. But I'm really tired of seeing all these news people and all these Law and Order people and all this stuff saying, hey, he shot somebody, so he's he should be tried with murder. And that's absolutely not. Absolutely not. He should not have been charged criminally for any of this, because his job was to do exactly what he did. Anyway, that's my opinion. That's how I see it. If you want to put down your own opinion, put down your own opinion. If you think I'm an idiot, put down I'm an idiot. If you think that you have a different opinion or you agree with my opinion, please put it down in comments. I'd be happy to read it. Anyway, this is not anything to do with junkyards and barn finds. This is just, I get tired of seeing things like this. There's other stuff I get tired of seeing sometimes, but I really just wanted to speak out. All right, guys, have a great weekend.